start this candy look off, I do what I do in most tutorials, and that is use a white eyeliner pencil and start to sketch out the designs. I use this cup for a stencil for the donut, and then also use a lid of something as a stencil for the inner circle of the donut. Once I'm happy with that, I make sure the ends of the donuts are wiggled so it looks like someone has taken a big bite out of it. To fill in the edges of the donut, I use the Snazaroo light beige face paint, and then to get that shadowed bit where it has been bitten at the ends, I use the light brown face paint by Snazaroo. Of course, this donut had to have pink icing and sprinkles. So for the icing, I use the Snazaroo fuchsia pink face paint, and then I go over the edges with the Fenty Beauty eyeliner in Hottie Alert. To make the donut look a little more 3D, I do some shading around it using different browns and almost black eyeshadows. I then use the rest of my Fenty Beauty Vivid eyeliners to do all the sprinkles on the donut. I then go on to paint a sweetie right next to the donut. I use the Snazaroo face paints in lilac and purple and white. I use the shade lilac for the lighter side of the sweet and purple for the shadowed part of the sweet, and then I use the white face paint to draw the packaging around the sweet. I also use the Fenty Beauty Vivid eyeliner in wet t-shirt as well to make it look like it has been wrapped around in plastic. I then do exactly the same as what I did to the donut and create some shadow behind it using some browns and almost black eyeshadow. I then do exactly the same, but this time make it look like a peppermint swirl. I'm pretty sure that is what they're called, but it is red with white swirl or a white with red swirl. Either, it is exactly the same technique as what I did with the purple sweet, except I'm using a red face paint and a white face paint for this one. I then draw a collection of sweets above them. I base these off of the kind of roundy shaped sweets that you get in dolly mixtures, and I use some Snazaroo face paints and Fenty eyeliners to create these as well. Moving on to the eyes, I use the P. Louise eyeshadow base and use the eyeshadow called Sweet Spot from the Colourpop Shizzer Rainbow palette. I only apply this in the inner corner of my eye because I then go into the Colourpop Super Shock eyeshadow in the shade Fizz and apply this just above it. I then go back to the palette and use the shade called Moonlight Matte and apply this in the centre of the lid. I then move on to the shade in the same palette called Kitten Fish Matte and apply that just above it. I then move on to a dark pink eyeshadow in that palette called Sandbar and blend that into the outer corner before going into the shade Fine China, which I blend against the lighter blue on the outer corner as well. Moving down to the bottom lash line, I use the shade Sunkissed and blend that from the inner corner to the centre of the eye. Lastly, I use the shade called Hard Place in that palette and blend that on the outer corner of the bottom lash line. Using the Colourpop Glitterily Obsessed glitter in Disco Lady, I apply that on the inner corner. Moving on to the next eye, I use that same palette that I've been using and use the shadow called Sandbar and apply that all over the eye. I then use the KYLIE Cosmetics glitter eyes in Hello Gorgeous and create a sweetie shape across my eye, very similar to the ones that we have drawn above my eyebrow. To make that shape really stand out, I go back in with that pink eyeshadow that I used earlier and just go around the edges. I also blend some in on my bottom lash line. I use that eyeshadow that I was just using as a blusher as well. I apply this in the normal places and on my nose and my chin. I then use the Too Faced highlighter in a Canary Diamond and place this over my cheekbones, the end of my nose and my cupid's bow. Using the Ofra Cosmetics Fixline eyeliner gel in Yellow Submarine, I paint a gummy bear on my cheek. I also paint some jelly beans next to it using my Snazaroo face paints. I then use my Fenty Beauty Vivid eyeliners to highlight each of these shapes and also to create some more detail on the gummy bear. Once I've done that, like I've done with my other things, I then create some shadow around them using some brown eyeshadows. Using my Colourpop BFF liquid eyeliner in the shade Numero Uno, I create some more definition on that gummy bear. Moving on to the body, I use the Snazaroo face paint in Sky Blue and blend that down one shoulder and going up one neck. And then on the other side, I use the Snazaroo face paint in Bright Green and do the same. My favourite ever sweets are the red rope sweets with the white cream running through the middle. So I had to paint one of these going around my neck with a red Snazaroo face paint. I then draw out the lollipop design next to it with a white eyeliner pencil, and then I go back to the rope suite around my neck and start to create some highlights and shading in that. And of course I paint a little white circle at the end to show that it has that white cream going through it. Now going back to the lollipop, I used all different face paints and started to paint stripes going around it. I'm not gonna lie, I found this part really difficult and it did not end up how I wanted it to, but I think I saved it a little bit with a black face paint. I outlined each section, and also I shaded areas and highlighted areas as well, and I think it didn't look that bad. It looked like a lolly, and that's what it needs to look like, so I'm happy with it. I then used a white Snazaroo face paint to fill in the stick of the lolly, and then I also did some shading like I've done with everything else that I've done so far. I then get a black face paint and outline the stick as well. To finish this look off, I use the Eldora Buttercup eyelashes, and then for my lips I use the LUNAR Beauty Dreamsicle liquid lipstick, and then on top of that I use the LUNAR Beauty lip gloss in the shade Dreamy. And of course I put on this pink wig, and I actually created these cotton candy type space buns as well that I used out of fluff, and I sprayed them pink, and yeah, I just love them. I also got a ton of candy and sweets and just shoved them in my hair, and I just thought it was really cute. This is one of my favourite looks that I've done in a long time. So let me know if you like this look by pressing the like button down below and leaving me a comment on what your favourite bit is of the look if you do love it, and also if there's anything you would like to see from me in the future. If you like makeup looks like this one, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you do not miss any videos here on my channel, and also follow me on Instagram. My name is @Brooke_Ellis_, and it'll be linked in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!